I've been speaking this way for more than 20 years in this chamber, and I wish we could have a budget that has the template for CCAM, because as I said, for every dollar invested in DRR, we have $7 of recovery that we would not have spent because we did it right at first sight. I would be happy to hear a response from the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that question. I think I joined Senator Lauren during the budget hearing of the Climate Change Commission, and we can task the Climate Change Commission to spearhead a program or a mechanism wherein climate change adaptation and mitigation should be mainstream and embedded in the activities of the different agencies. Come up with the guidelines, come up with some form of template. So in the formulation of their budget, they will already take into consideration climate change mitigation and adaptation in their different PAPs, program activities and projects, Mr. President. So we can, my suggestion is we can mobilize the CCC to do so, Mr. President.
It's a small agency, perhaps.
Ano lang mga template lang, Mr.
You're
President?
correct. Even the DNR can
Yes,
help,
or the DNR,
hopefully.
yes.
Because the DA also has their climate change offices. All these agencies have their little bureaus or programs relating to CCAM, because it's nothing new. We've been doing this for 20 years.
Correct. We'll
Yes.
request from the economic managers concrete examples on climate change mitigation and adaptation, considering that close to about a trillion pesos actually have been allocated to climate change adaptation and mitigation projects.
Yes. I know that the chair may not be able to read into the record the big ticket items in the 844 billion, but I would be happy to receive from the agencies of government or NEDA or even the LBRMO what are the big ticket items in the 844B that relates or that addresses the issues on climate change adaptation and mitigation.
The DBM will submit to the committee and to your office, to our Honor's office, the breakdown of this climate change adaptation budget of 844 billion, Mr. President. There are components, but concrete examples and also concrete projects.
Yes. Because we can easily say, food security, madali pong pakinggan
Correct,
at magandang pakinggan, pero saan talaga napupunta? Then we could say, climate adaptation. And when we look at the fine print, it would be flood control. But what kind of flood control? It should be nature-based, let's say enhancement of mangroves instead of cement. It should be green and not gray. Yeah. Having said that, I would like to go into governance and corruption and macroeconomic impact. So, again, during the DBCC, Mr. President, the medium-term projections, it was said, depend on executing the 1.324 trillion in capital outlays. Again, I would be happy to be corrected if the figures are not accurate. So, based on the DBCC, the medium-term projections depend on executing the 1.3 trillion in capital outlays annually and rely on achieving a 5 trillion in revenue collections. Yet governance failures directly constrain project execution and deter investor participation. We all know that and sadly admit it. May this representation be educated. What are the formal mechanisms by which the DBCC, the economic team, will integrate corruption risk metrics and procurement transparency indices into the medium-term fiscal framework and the fiscal forecasts? Should the 2026 budget include perhaps a dedicated allocation, perhaps I don't know, 5 billion for a substantially enhanced independent audit mechanism as a safeguard against ongoing governance scandals and project failures. I just want to understand what is the game changer that will ensure that we will reach our targets and not speak 1 year from now of the same governance failures. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, Mr. President, for one, during the budget of the DPWH, we also talked about how to prevent the same issue from happening this coming 2026. And one of the things that we included in the 2026 Senate Committee report is a fund of 2.4 billion pesos for pre-audit, Mr. President, of all DPWH projects. This was recommended by the COA, the Commission on Audit, and at the same time, the DPWH accepted this proposal during that hearing where you were there, Mr. President. So we carved out 2.4 billion to fund COA's pre-audit activities in DPWH. At the same time, DPWH will be using modern technology to make sure that ghost projects will not happen again. So they will use satellite technology that can pinpoint exactly where the projects are, technologies that can be used to validate the projects that are being implemented. So the use of technology will be a key reform that the DPWH will be doing this coming new year, Mr. President. Secretary Pangandaman mentioned to me that under the new Procurement Act, there is an enhanced transparency and accountability mechanism, Mr. President. This is, one will be the open data contracting that will ensure open access to procurement processes and contract implementation. The other one is participatory procurement. Empowers observers and civil society organizations in independent oversight and monitoring rules, and beneficial ownership disclosure. Mandates declaration of beneficial owners to detect conflict of interest and prevent circumvention of blacklisting, Mr. President. Those are the mechanisms, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. We anticipate the implementation and hopefully the immediate positive impact of the open governance which the DBM has been championing in the past months.
That's on the procurement side, Mr. President, but on the implementation side, the pre-audit is a major reform that we included in the budget, Mr. President, because in the past, as we have seen in the issues of ghost projects, hindi ho nabibisita ng COA resident auditor, no? Because sa dami pong projects, hindi yung nabibisita lahat. Bayad na, hindi pa rin nila nabibisita. So, we're reversing the process by adding more funds, getting more auditors on the ground. So, bago po mabayaran yan, definitely mabibisita na nila.
Thank you for that, Mr. President. I know I would like to ask now about budget alignment and project integrity, and allow me to read just the context of my question. The total budget proposal submitted by the national government agencies reached 10.101 trillion. Again, let the executive department correct my figures if it's not accurate. Yet the national expenditure program allocation is constrained to 6.793 trillion, a reduction of 3.3 trillion or approximately 33%. The Department of Budget and Management has cited strict parameters for crafting the NEP, including, and I always hear this term, shovel readiness. Projects must have completed feasibility studies and procurement plans. The prioritization of project completion over new construction I'm happy to know this. I hope that the unfinished multipurpose and health centers and DepEd school buildings, etc., and bridges will have priority over new construction. And the assessment as well of agency absorptive capacity. And this is often the problem. However, the Senate post-budget hearing summary reveals systemic integrity issues. You yourself have flagged billions. I will not belabor the issue. You mentioned about missing station numbers, etc., and incomplete technical documentation. And many locally funded projects bypass the Public Investment Program, the PIP, as well as the 3-year rolling infrastructure program. We spoke about this during one of the subcommittee hearings, the TRIP requirements, and the lack of rigorous technical validation required for development effectiveness. Foreign-assisted projects also face sometimes persistent delays, which are tied to underfunding in terms of the right-of-way acquisition, contributing to 4-year delays on flagship projects. So my question is, having said that, the Department of Planning, Economy and Development, DepDev, is responsible for the PDP. The BBM manages the budget execution and allocation. How has the BBCC ensured that the 6.793 trillion NEP is rigorously aligned with the PDP priorities and the projects that may not have been included in the PIP and the TRIP, or perhaps lacking in complete feasibility studies, or perhaps have no detailed engineering studies and are systematically excluded then from the budget? Which brings me to the issue of agencies of government always coming to us asking for their priorities that were not included in Tier 1, but they say are priorities, but could not have complied with supposedly the rigorous requirements of the economic team, or of these two agencies I mentioned. So may I know how will the executive department deal with this? From a 10 trillion budget proposals to a 6.7 trillion NEP, so 1/3, 33%, sinantabi. And if you talk to every agency of government, this is the mantra. Sabi po, wag na kaming humingi, pero wag na nyo sasabihin, pero ito po kailangan talaga eh. You know that. All of us here, they come to us with requests. I think the chair would confirm that, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
You have balikbayan boxes of requests.
Yes, Mr. President,
Yeah.
marami ho talaga until now, a lot of agencies, local governments and agencies.
LGUs and NGAs.
NGAs.
Yes.
Big and small NGAs, they're actually coming to request for additional funding. So it's really, Mr. President, as the good gentle lady from Panay knows, it's really about fiscal space, Mr. President. So because of the tight fiscal space, it's very hard to give amounts to agencies that are not in line with the priorities of the President, Mr. President, and also in line with the Philippine Development Plan. So you're absolutely correct that the initial request, actually the initial was 11 trillion, Mr. President. It was trimmed down to 10 trillion. But even at 10 trillion, it cannot be completely allocated. So the DBM prioritizes making sure that the projects are can be implemented as soon as possible. Although during the hearing, the DBCC hearing, there are still room for improvement in terms of shovel readiness, Mr. President. Nakita natin na maraming mga projects on paper shovel ready pero hindi pa siya talagang shovel ready kasi kulang ng feasibility study or others.